This is Engine Masters presented by AMSOIL, and this time it's a multi-carb shootout. We've got Holley versus Edelbrock and dual quad versus tri-power. Here's our little buddy for the day. This is a 383 cubic inch small block Chevrolet. It makes 476 horsepower and 477 pound-feet of torque. Now we've done that with the single 4-barrel intake, which will give us an opportunity not only to compare those multi-carb intakes to each other, but also to the power of a 4-barrel. Now let's talk about how we got there. The short block here is a Blueprint Engines crate motor, just their basic deal, hyper-eutectic piston cast crank program. It's 383 cubic inches, it's neighborhood of 9.8 to 1 compression. We've hopped it up with a set of Blueprint Engines 210cc intake runner CNC ported aluminum cylinder heads. The cam in this is a hydraulic roller. It's 236 degrees of duration at 50 thousandths tappet lift. It's got 510, 520 lift. The dual plane intake manifold we've got here with the 4-barrel is just the basic generic high rise that comes with a Blueprint crate engine, and that is a beautiful carburetor. It's the hardcore gray model of the Holley XP. I love that carburetor, but we're about to get rid of it because we're gonna test this engine both with that tri-power intake and the Edelbrock dual quad. Here's my plan.
Yeah?
Full-on multi-carb shootout. This is the Holley tri-power setup. This is the Edelbrock RPM air gap dual quad, and they sell these as kits. Holley, you buy all of this as one part number, and this is all one part number. They both come with intake manifolds and carburetors and linkage and fuel lines. This one comes with air cleaners, the Edelbrock doesn't, but the Edelbrock comes with gaskets and the Holley doesn't. This, as you see it, is between 1,800 and 2,000 bucks. This is just over 1,200 bucks. But by the time you buy the valve covers that we're gonna have and the air cleaner that we're gonna show the guys, the Holley still ends up being about 500 bucks more than the Edelbrock.
Well, that's the practicality, but which one makes more power is what I want to know.
I don't know if the audience for these cares as much for power as they do about, does it work right out of the box? How does the linkage function? What's the calibration look like? I think they want to just slam it on the motor and go. So we're gonna learn that, but I gotta say, that's gonna make more horsepower.
My heart said that.
I know.
But I agree with you. I think that's got a better manifold than this design.
Yeah.
The manifold's gonna make more power with the dual quads.
I think so too, even though I love that because it's more like a Mopar 6-pack.
Or a Chevy tri-power.
That's true. So we'll run the Holley setup first and love on it. And then find out if that makes more power.
Which I think it will.
I do too.
I wanted you to pick this one.
I know. These Holley valve covers are good.
Yeah, I'm liking them. It'll look good with these Holley carburetors. Okay, line me up, carburetor. I don't want to smear your perfect silicone job.
Here, I got half of it. We're doing the Holley tri-power first because we've got the opinion it's gonna end up making less power than the Edelbrock dual quad because the dual quad's on a more modern intake manifold, but we could always be wrong. My bet is that the calibration is closer on this, but the Edelbrock ultimately makes more power. I think people wanna know what it runs out of the box because your average guy at home is not gonna fiddle around. Yeah, I think this will be closer on the calibration.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I also think that Brulet's gonna work harder on tuning the Holley carburetors. And the Edelbrocks, he'll just call it good enough.
He's calling you a cheating SOB.
Yeah.
Len Groom is our hookup over at AMSOIL. He's the guy who's been sending us all this stuff and recommending the product for every engine that we use here on Engine Masters. And from the start with our 383 Chevy here, we have used the Premium Protection 1040. The thing is, this synthetic oil actually has a service recommended life of 15,000 miles in a production car. Not quite that much for a modified engine, but I have to tell you the truth. We've been dyno flogging this thing for many episodes and we've never changed the oil. It's probably okay because it's got that AMSOIL synthetic in it. All right, we're going for record-setting distance this time. Ready? Whoa, I'm gonna make a mess on that nice, pretty new Holley valve cover. Oh.
I'm officially gonna switch teams right now.
What do you mean?
I'm going with the Holley. I called the Edelbrock as making more power, but I think I like this better now.
I think you're just like under the ether of the zinc dichromate gold finish. That's all it is.
I just had to go with my heart on this one, I think.
This thing does kind of, I'd like to call it a 6-pack instead of a tri-power because it looks like a Mopar.
It does.
It's pretty good.
That might be why I like it, but it just looks right on there.
I always like the 346-pack motor.
I would say the runner design and stuff looks very similar to like a AAR CUDA.
It does.
I actually do think it will make more power though.
So you're legitimately going
Yes.
with the Holley for more power?
I think it really doesn't matter at all because it
Because
looks,
it looks
so cool.
Yeah.
That's all it is. We got temp. Pull it. Okay, it's really rich.
Yep.
Interesting. I really thought it would be closer than that. We just made our very first pull in there on the Holley Tri-Power, and it was really rich, meaning too much fuel going through the engine. It was 10.3 to 1 up to 11.3 to 1. You'd really like to see it closer to 12.5, 12.8 at peak power, and so we're gonna take some jets out of each of the 3 carburetors. When I say take jet out, I mean make the orifice in the fuel jet smaller so less fuel's going in the engine. Show and tell on carburetor jets. This is them. Little metered orifices that screw into the main well of the carburetor, and you can see that a small one like this is a 45 jet and this one's 100. Just changing the size of that hole changes the amount of fuel that's flowing into the engine. So we can see on this jet that it's got 70s, at least in the end carburetor, and we know that it's too rich, so these are too big, so we're gonna be putting smaller ones in, like probably a 68, 67, something like that. From the factory, we had 70 jets in the outboard, right?
Right.
And a 65 in the middle, and now we got 66s and a 63, and we're gonna go run it again and find out if we leaned it out enough to make more power.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Here are our final numbers for our A test with the Holley Tri-Power. 460 pound-feet of torque and 447 horsepower. Unfortunately, that's way down from what we saw with the 4-barrel with this exact same engine. But now the question is the Edelbrock gonna be better or not?
Well, I assured you that it would be better the whole time, right?
Wait a minute. The whole time?
Well, yeah, I mean, I had a moment of weakness there, but you won't hold me to that, will you?
Which whole time are you talking about?
Oh, man.
Before we move on to the dual quad setup, I just wanted to show you the difference here between a high-rise dual plane intake manifold with a single Holley 850 carburetor versus the Tri-Power that we just ran. The black one is the Tri-Power. It's lower. It loses 26 pound-feet of torque, and up here it's losing 35 horsepower. So there's a significant penalty to look this good, but who cares?
In a hot rod, when you're driving around down here most of the time,
Yeah.
it's not 26 or 35. I mean, that's if you're going to the drag strip. But I mean, I just love the look of
I
this
don't know
thing.
about that, Steve-O. I mean, when I'm driving around, I like to be...
You'd like to be up at 5,500 RPM all the time? At wide open?
Oh, yeah.
The thing about this, though, is that it drives around on the center carburetor. So really, you're driving around with 325 CFM.
Yeah, and I imagine the mileage is actually pretty decent because
Yeah.
of the way that the linkage is set up, it is just the center carburetor.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I think the Edelbrock might take it out. I think you were right.
Yep. Well, now it's time to find out.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? We measured earlier because this looks so much taller than the other setup, but from the China wall right here at the base of the manifold to the carburetor air cleaner surface, what was it? This is 8.5 and that other one's 8 5/8.
Yeah, 1/8 of an inch difference. They're
like
identical. But you know what's different? Look at how high the runners are on this.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Holley, the runners are really low, and it's got like a lot of updraft and what would be kind of like a built-in spacer, so.
Well, the thing is, it's easier to only have to deal with 8 barrels, right?
Right.
2 4 barrels is
guess.
actually easier to deal with than 3 2 barrels than 6 barrels as far as the manifold and plenum design goes.
Yeah, and plus it's kind of more symmetrical on an 8-cylinder engine because you have a barrel for each cylinder.
I think we all agree this is going to make more power than the Holley. Will this match the single 4-barrel power?
I say it exceeds it.
It exceeds it.
Yeah.
You know what? I might be able to go there considering that other intake that we ran was not an Edelbrock RPM. It was like a generic Chinese high-rise.
Yeah, it's kind of an older style high-rise.
Yeah.
The air fuel is pretty close though, right out of the box.
It was. Yeah, air fuel ratio that we're looking at here at peak power is actually just touching into the 13s, 13.3 to 1. To be fair, straight out of the box, this thing had a better tune-up, but it is running a 13.5 to 1. It's a little lean. I mean, should we go throw a metering rod in it and see what we can do?
I'd
Just
vote yes.
Put a little smaller metering rod.
Yeah, we'll
Let's
go out and
try
see
it.
what it's got in it and see what we can do. In the Holley carburetor, it uses an open orifice which meters the fuel. And in the Edelbrock, it actually uses a jet as well as a metering rod, which as the vacuum drops, then this spring actually lets the metering rod pull out of the jet. So at part throttle at higher vacuum positions, it's actually restricting fuel, but as the vacuum drops, it pulls it all the way out of the jet and allows full fuel flow. We're actually lean right now, so we actually need to decrease the size of this rod so we can allow more fuel to pass into the jet. And we're thinking, hopefully, without pulling the top of the carburetor off, that we can get away with just narrowing this rod a bit and lowering the air-fuel ratio.
So really, I mean, these carburetors for small changes are more convenient than a Holley with the metering rod.
Yeah.
But if there's a big change, you've got to take the whole top plate off the carburetor, and that's the part that Relay does not like.
I know. So we took out a 6252 rod and put in a 6347. So that's 47 thousandths of an inch inside the jet instead of 52 thousandths, which is actually a pretty significant change when you look at the diameter of the orifice and all that other kind of stuff.
Okay, I think we're all done here.
Okay.
Fired up?
Yeah.
Number yet on this setup.
So here's our final answer on the Edelbrock dual quad versus the Holley tri-power. The red line here is the tri-power, the black line is the dual quad. You can see that below 3,800 RPM, actually the tri-power is a little bit better. But above that point is where I think the airflow takes over, and that's when the dual quad really takes off. Ultimately, from peak to peak, we got 10 more pound-feet of torque with the dual quad. It made 468 pound-feet. And up at the top, the dual quad made 471 horsepower, and the tri-power made, what was it again? I think 24 horsepower less at 447. But I think the graphs really tell more than the peaks about the difference in performance here. I mean, once again, driving around with a lower RPM engine, really it's a toss-up if you had like a 350 Chevy or something. And if you're trying to make more power and more RPM, then you're probably better off with that dual quad.
Yeah, the Edelbrock really is pretty solid. That number is good.
Yeah, it's closer to the 4-barrel than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So as a final look, let's just see how these compare to the single 4-barrel intake manifold on a high-rise dual plane. That blue line now is a comparison to the single 4-barrel. Surprisingly, the tri-power actually beat the
that
single
whole
4-barrel.
resonance thing on an in-out track is a little different. It's not always shorter is better through the whole RPM range or longer is better. It will cross and change with different RPM ranges.
But you can see that the 4-barrel's ultimately better, but not by that much.
No, just slightly at peak torque, but then virtually identical as far as peak power within a couple.
Yeah. The dual quad is really right there, surprisingly, with that with that 4-barrel.
Yeah.
And it has the look.
It does. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, I think logic dictates Edelbrock wins this round. This thing was cheaper, the tune-up was closer right out of the box, and ultimately it made more horsepower, almost matching the 4-barrel. But the thing is, I still want this one.
Yeah, but
What's up with that?
this one's hands down the winner as far as performance. That, traditional looks, style, I'd have to give it the award there too.
I know. So I think the deal is for everybody watching this is gonna come down to what do you think looks cooler? And that looks cooler to me. And I think we were making the point, if you just had a 350 that was making 350 horsepower or something, the difference in horsepower would probably be less because of the airflow demand.
It'll narrow down for sure.
Take it for what you will. Bash us in the comments. All we ask is that you come back and see us again on Engine Masters presented by Amsoil. That's a wrap on our Holley Tri-Power intake. We're looking at two 350.
It sounded fluffy at the top, I thought.
Fluffy?
Fluffy? Well, that's what happens when you're too rich.
Fluffy or floofy?
No, I call that fluffy.
Fluffy.
Yeah.
I thought that's what that comedian on the cable channels
No,
was
no.
or something.
Oh, that's Dr. Steve Brule.
And by take jet out, what I actually mean is throwing that nut all over the floor while I'm talking. I'm leaving nothing on the table when it comes to dropping stuff today. Absolutely nothing.
You're 4 for 4 right now.
Dude, here.
Are you a little nervous there, Freiberger?
It's ridiculous.
Come on.
Camera shy.
Yeah.